How are you today? It's Friday. Yay, right? Friday. Okay, so we're still continuing with our Shift Your Thinking series, and we're going to talk about stories that we tell ourselves, like what's behind these stories. For us to be able to understand what our kids are thinking, we need to figure out first ourselves and what we're thinking and what's behind the stories that we tell ourselves, right? Hi, I'm Jean Harville, and I am the founder of Helping Kids with Reading. I'm also founder of Raising Kids Who Love to Read and the creator of the Reading Confidence Academy. So really excited to talk to you today. This is kind of a continuation of our continuing lives that we've had, or previous lives that we've had. So just to get an idea to get us into this, I just want to start out with a little story that a little story about something that happened to me, I don't know, maybe about a year or two ago, okay? I was invited to an event, and it was a kind of a meet and greet type of event. It wasn't like a real deep connection type event, but sort of a surface level, greeting each other, that sort of thing. I didn't know anyone there except for the person who invited me, and after we walked into this huge room, it's tall ceilings, ornately decorated, and hallways and doors, and down at the end was a big area people were gathering where they had like food, like finger foods and snacks and that sort of thing. And so anyway, after we walked in, the person who invited me kind of wandered off. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm on my own, so all right, great. And it's so funny because, like, I thrive for meeting new people. I love to meet new people. I love to talk to them and just do some, just kind of some ideas. I'm not a real, like, chit-chat type person, like small talk. I like to just get kind of deep into things. Not everybody likes to do that, and I recognize that. But this was a particularly interesting event. I was introduced to, before my person who invited me walked away, she introduced me to a couple of people. So I began talking with them, and it was pretty surface level. Hi, where are you from? And, so forth, and what do you do? And that sort of thing. But before I could actually answer the question, somebody walked up to us, and my conversation partner took his eyes off of me to the other person and turned and walked off. And I was in mid-sentence. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So I wandered around, and somebody else struck up a conversation. Hi, how are you? Had a little, conversation going. And as soon as somebody walked in the room, their eyes diverted and they walked off. And I'm like, great. So I guess they don't really want to hear what I have to say. This is quite interesting. So this went on for several different conversation partners. Now, if I hadn't already worked on myself of not feeling insecure in situations like this, I thought I found it to be quite humorous, actually. And I just wanted to see how far this was going to go. Yeah, some people knew each other, but a lot of people were new and didn't know each other. And so I was just kind of curious to see how this was going to go. So this continued on and on for several more people, and they would just eventually, they would ask me a question and wouldn't even wait for me to answer the question before they would leave the conversation, which I thought, this is really rude. I could have taken this down to, gosh, I'm not important here, and gosh, I don't, why am I here, and I don't feel valued or anything like that. But instead, I had already changed my thinking about myself, and I took it more of an experiment, took it on as more as an experiment, and I was kind of laughing on the inside because I just thought this was so ludicrous and so ridiculous. Obviously, once they started their program, I walked out and left because I knew that these people were not my people. They were not the people that I wanted to be around. But just reflecting back on it, I just thought, okay, we could take this to, they didn't have very good manners. This was actually a generation younger than me, and their manners were just not there. And when you talk to somebody, you continue a conversation eye to eye, and you speak with them, right? You don't just change if somebody else more interesting walks in the room. You don't just divert and go to that person. That's just very rude to do that. And so I took several lessons away from that event, and I just thought, just kind of reflecting on it. So things like these types of scenarios can happen, right? To our kids when they're younger, to us when we're younger. And if we're not protecting ourselves, we're not understanding what this underlying belief that starts to develop and becomes hardened, because we think over and over again, I must not be important to talk to, or I'm so shy I can't speak out, or I don't feel comfortable speaking around these people, like whatever these people mean. And then also it was like, I don't feel, you can kind of take it down, and it's very difficult to find this underlying hidden belief within yourself without somebody asking you and taking you down, sort of like the rabbit hole, or taking you down and asking you some really, really deep, hard questions. And so our basic needs as human beings, we have 3 basic needs: to feel valued, important, that what we have to say is worthy, right? All those kind of comments, like to feel worthiness, to feel value and feel important, to feel safe, to be safe, to not feel threatened, both physically or emotionally, but a place of safety. It's safe for me to walk into this group of people because I know that who I am and what they say is not going to bother or shake who I am. So safety can come in a couple of different ways. It could be a physical safety, it could be an emotional safety, okay? And then the other one is that you're not loved. Love is another one, that you're not loved. And so love, feeling enough, and feeling safe. Those are the 3 basic needs that most stories will follow down to. Those false beliefs that you have about yourself, you can narrow them down. And so when we can recognize our own stories and recognize what is that underlying belief of this story that I'm telling myself about who I am, then we can start recognizing it with our kids and start seeing out what exactly is my child feeling. Is my child not feeling loved? So if you interpret the story of not feeling loved, then you as an adult would say, wait, okay, I have been ignoring my child for a while. I've been super busy on this project or super busy here. So let me see if we can, do something together so that they feel valued, they feel loved, they feel, safe. So when you boil it down to what's the underlying feeling that is going on behind some of the stories that my kids are saying or telling, and oftentimes it's hard to get to them because they themselves don't really understand. They don't understand at this point, their young life, what that really means. But you as an adult, when you take your beliefs that you have been telling yourself or been hiding behind, and really bring it down to, why do you tell these crazy stories? Why do you say, that I'm not, I'm not, I don't like calling in an order, takeout order, right, on the line. I always hand the phone over to my kids. They're like, Mom, don't you want to do it? I'm like, I don't like talking on the phone. Why do I not like talking on the phone? Because I can't make eye contact with the other person. I can't see them like rolling their eyes or making a, kind of a comment like, what is she talking about? So that just means like, that might, if I find out that the person on the other end of my call is like judging me, then I'm going to feel like, geez, I'm not worthy, I'm not valued, right? I could take it to that point. So you just kind of have to think about, like, what is the underlying belief in comments or statements that you may be making, or what's holding you back? And that's generally what happens if you are being held back from stepping forward into a new job, a new position, a new being a director, or being standing up and teaching a Sunday school class, or standing up and doing something where all eyes are going to be on you, and you're finding yourself holding yourself back, or you don't want to make that phone call to make that sale if you are doing home business, right? Or you find yourself procrastinating, right? You find yourself doing perfectionistic things to avoid having to connect with other people because you're afraid of how they're going to perceive you. There's some underlying beliefs of not feeling loved, not feeling enough, or not feeling safe. And those are the 3 basic underlying beliefs that most of our stories can boil down to. So I'm just going to leave that with you. And what you could do is, if you figure out what one of those stories are behind something that's holding you back, like, why am I procrastinating? why am I being perfectionistic about whatever it is you're doing? If you're writing an email, or if you are just even texting somebody, your friend, but it's not perfect, so you find yourself deleting it and rewording it and deleting it and rewording it, or changing it up, or, or if you are, I don't know, scrapbooking, and you just redo something, like, that just doesn't look quite right. I need to make a different color, make a different shape, it has to be just right, just perfect before I can put it out there. Or if you're putting together a presentation, and you just really have to figure it out, make sure it's just right and just perfect. Well, what is it that's holding you back? Why are you making it perfect? Doesn't really matter. And most likely other people don't see the imperfections, but you see. What that is, those are blocks. Those are stories that you're telling yourself that you're not enough, or you're not valued, or that you're not loved, or that you don't feel safe in putting this thing out because might get comments back, bad comments about it. So anyway, so these are stories that we tell about ourselves. And for us to be able to recognize one of those underlying beliefs is a little bit more difficult, but you could. And once you do that, then you can find proof in your life that they're false, that they're not true, right? For me, I did 2 international adoptions. I had no idea where to start, but I figured it out. I had to drive to different counties, to different secretaries of the county seat, and get notaries get my notaries also notarized. Is a big system that had to, it was all a multi-step thing. But I had to put myself out there and go find these clerks and go ask them. Then I had to drive to Atlanta, Georgia, and I had to go to the Secretary of the State office up on the top floor and ask for, just so many things that I would not have been willing to put out there. But my end result is what drew me. My vision is what brought me through all that. I had this vision that I was adopting a child, and I was going to have a child, and that was my vision, and that's what I worked for, and that's what I worked towards. So when you start finding yourself blocking, like, I just don't want to do that, that just makes my armpits sweat, right? It makes me nervous. What's the underlying belief that's there? And what's the vision that's driving you to move through that uncomfortable state, all right? So once we can recognize that in ourselves, then we can notice that in our kids, like, what's going on? Why is my child stopping, progress on, a project or something? What's the underlying thing that's going on? What is he telling himself? And so I think when we can recognize stories within ourselves, we can recognize those stories within our kids, and then we are more empowered to create, to help them along. So if you are not in our free Facebook group, Raising Kids Who Would Love to Read, yet, go up to the top of this page and hit that Learn More button at the top, and come on inside and join us, all right? So y'all have a really wonderful weekend, and I'll see you all on Tuesday. Bye-bye.